Hi, my name is Laura Voiles. This is my group leading report for HSCO511 Group Dynamics at Liberty University. I held a support group for individuals in a caregiving role to an aging family member. I did create this group for the purpose of the class and held the meeting on Tuesday, June 22nd Tuesday, June 26th at 6 p.m. The meeting lasted a little over an hour and a half with some sidebar conversation following the meeting, closer to 2 hours. There were 5 participants other than myself. There were two other participants who had said that they would be there, but unfortunately were involved in a family emergency that day and were unable to attend. So 5 participants other than myself who are all involved in a caregiving role in some form or fashion. The purpose of the group was for these people who are in a caregiving role to be able to get together with others who are having similar experiences and just have an outlet to be able to share and to also learn and gain from each other, to hopefully not feel as isolated and as if they are the only ones experiencing these things, to be able to learn from the others and just to have some stress relief in being able to share some of the things that they are experiencing in this caregiving role. As far as the group dynamics, content, and process, I feel like the dynamics went really well with the group. 2 members especially seemed to connect. They are in very similar situations, both about the same age, same stage of life, and also have the aging family member living in their home. So I think that their connection was a little bit more even than some of the other members in the group, just because their situations are so similar. The members responded well to the meeting, to the instructions that were provided. They shared freely and were very open and willing to participate, and I appreciated that. It did help the meeting flow very well. So their engagement, their participation, that was great. Some of the techniques that I was able to use was some clarification and questioning, just being able to ask them to expound on something that they had said, and then also reflection and being able to to kind of restate some of the things that they said and just get that, so is this what you meant? And even a lot of times referring back to something that they had said when it connected to another member who said something later on. So also providing that linking. I was able to do some information giving, not necessarily from myself, but through an information sharing video. So just to describe the progression of the meeting, I did have an agenda that was established from the beginning. So I briefly introduced the role and the purpose and the expectations at the beginning of the meeting. Of course, clarify that I'm not a subject matter expert on caregiving, but that my role as a leader would just be to facilitate and to maintain focus and the progression, a smooth progression, to stay on the agenda for the meeting. Right before I described the agenda and laid that out and let them know how the meeting would progress, I did let them know that we were going to be doing a warm-up activity and I wanted them to be getting some thoughts together. So I let them know what that activity was going to be and what I needed them to be thinking about, so that I wouldn't just spring it on them and they wouldn't have to immediately go into it. I give them a little bit of time to prepare for that activity and get their thoughts together. So after the introduction of the roles and purpose and just establishing some expectations for the meeting, we did move into that warm-up activity, which was I used a round and had them give a story, kind of a negative story related to their caregiving, then also a positive story, hopefully something that had happened recently, preferably within the last week, and so we utilize that as a round to just kind of establish some common ground, that there are negatives and that there are positives and that everybody is having some experiences that the others could commiserate with. So that went really well. They each had about 3 to 4 minutes, and that round lasted about 20 minutes with each person sharing their stories. I had then intended to go into the video clip. That was going to be about 14 minutes, but I did get some experience in being flexible, which has been mentioned a few times throughout our class in both the textbook and videos that we have seen, in that a leader needs to be well planned, but also be able to be flexible. So one of the members was going to have to leave during the meeting. She had let me know beforehand that that was going to take place. So I had to be able to switch the agenda around just a little bit in order to have time for her to participate in all of the actual activities. So I moved the written activity to in front of the video clip, just switched those around, and just got some experience in being flexible. So we did, after the warm-up activity, utilizing that round, go into a written activity that was a sentence completion activity. I did pass out some papers with the sentences written and space for them to fill in those sentences. So I gave them a few minutes to think about that and to write down their responses to 4 sentences, and then we went into some post-activity discussion where each of them got to share what they had written as their sentence completion. Then after that, the one member did have to leave, but I proceeded to the video. We watched that and then had some post-video discussion about thoughts and reactions that they had to things that they may not have thought of before that they watched this video. And it was by a person who is a professional and a subject matter expert in caregiving, who just provided some ground rules for people to help relieve stress in those roles. Following the post-video discussion, it was time to close out the meeting, so I did a checking out round and just asked them, how was the meeting for you? How do you feel that it went? Do you have any final thoughts? Maybe some things that you did not get to share in previous activities or discussion, just your brief thoughts in wrapping up. So that went well, about 10 to 15 minutes of a checking out round, and closed out the meeting that way. So that was the content and the process and the dynamic. So as far as a self-assessment, I feel like things went well. Of course, since it was my first time leading a support group, I do know that there is a lot of improvement that I can do as a group leader, and I do want to reflect on some things that I can improve on in the future. And as I have mentioned in a couple of prior class assignments, I think some discussion boards, I felt like that one of the problems that I would have would be cutting members off, and I think that is true. There were times throughout the meeting that I kind of felt like I needed to cut someone off maybe a little earlier than I did, maybe losing the focus just a little bit. So I know that that's something that I need to improve on, maybe something that I didn't do as well as I would have liked in this meeting. I did get around to it. There were some times that I used my eyes to direct the conversation to someone else and did kind of cut off, and also just bringing back the focus and asking them to proceed to the next question of the written assignment. Okay, so what do you have written for number 3? So I did get some experience in doing some cutting off and getting the focus back to what it needed to be at the time. And also, of course, that experience in having a disruption, a member needing to leave before the meeting was over, and also having a good plan, but having to be flexible with that as well. So those were some of the challenges, the things that maybe I could have handled differently, but the things that kind of went well also. So as a conclusion, and just to provide a really key takeaway that I felt for me, was that I know that there has to be a plan. That was something that I recognized as I have been reading the textbook and watching the videos throughout this class, is the importance of planning ahead of time. And I did find that to be so true and so critical, in that if those disruptions, the member having to leave and having to be flexible, had I not had an agenda and had a specific plan to go by, and knew the activities and how I wanted those to go and the amounts of time that I knew that they would need to take, I think that it would not have gone as well. So my key takeaway is just always be very well prepared, have a plan, be willing to be flexible, but know how you want things to progress and turn out. My concluding thought would really just be that I feel so honored to have been able to lead this group, and that I could tell that it was a benefit to the members and that they did gain a lot from being able to share and just to have a break for the evening and be able to share with each other and to realize that others are experiencing some of the same things that they are and that they're not alone. And I think that the group actually may continue to meet in the future, even though it was established for the purpose of this project, that it may continue, and I let them know that I would be willing to continue to be a group leader, and that it may continue to be a blessing to people who really need that in the future. And I'm just so pleased with how it went, and that and that what I have learned in this class was able to be well utilized in a meeting that also had more benefit to it than just a class project. Thank you.